Hey guys, so today we're going to be jumping into a top 10 units list for Dragon Ball Legends. I am a bit late in terms of covering this. This is actually going to be the August 2023 edition. We are almost 2 weeks into September at this point, but we haven't gotten any big units releasing in September, so I'm just going to call this the August list. We do have a LF coming out in a few days from when I'm making this video. It should be a Dragon Ball Saga character, because that's the current episode campaign going on, but all these characters were out in August, so I'm going to call this the August 2023 edition. Again, I apologize a little late on this, but it is what it is. So as always, I'm going to just quickly rattle off 3 things, and then we'll jump into the video. So number 1, all characters are considered at 14 stars in their best possible scenarios, essentially, that are realistic. Number 2, I like to view this list as a top 10 rankings of best characters in the game in the current meta. This is not an individual list. I'm not looking at the individual traits of characters to solely decide where they fall on the top 10 list based off of their individual characteristics. Obviously, their individual characteristics plays a factor into where they drop, but it's not everything. This is mostly a list, and this is going to be very important for this particular list, that considers the current meta environment, right? How does the current meta affect this character? Is this character going to perform well in the current meta environment, regardless of how good they are individually? So that's number 2. Number 3, this list is entirely my own opinion. I play the game in Japan. Whether the Japanese meta is going to be different than the North American meta is also going to factor into how I place characters on this list. On top of, my personal experience. So if I've personally experienced that this character has performed particularly well for me, or, I'm fighting against a character, this character is particularly proven to be pretty scary to fight against, that's going to influence my rating because it's my personal experience that's deciding on where I'm placing these characters. So please feel free to agree or disagree with my placements and let me know down below in the comment section why you agree or disagree. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the top 10 list here. This is, again, the August 2023 edition, and let's go ahead and start with number 10. So I think there are a number of characters you could put at this number 10 spot, and I think I actually made the same comment in the last tier list video as well, where I think I had Orange Pickle at number 10 in the last video. I actually think you could put Orange Pickle at number 10 in this video too for the August list, but I went with Kid Buu. Kid Buu has very high potential. It's just, I think, even with, Ultra Vegito Blue being crippled thanks to the release of Namek Goku recently, you still see him a lot. He's one of the most common units you run into is Vegito Blue, and I think one of the main reasons is because he's just so easy to use, and he's Vegito Blue. He's one of the most popular characters in the game, right? The most recent Summon of Ultra character, again, super easy to use. He has one of the easiest ways to get combos started in the game with the vanish removal and stuff like that. So that's why this Kid Buu is not higher on the list. He's number 10. But I think the main reason why I only have Kid Buu at number 10 here is because we are at a point now where Regen really, really, really needs a strong blue character, and they just don't have one. You could theoretically put 17 on leader for Regen, and I've actually seen a lot of teams or a lot of players running a variant of Regen where it's 17 Orange Piccolo and Kid Buu. It's just a green card generating machine team, and you just feed the green cards to Kid Buu and Kid Buu goes off. But it kind of hurts the Regen setup because Regen generates a lot of its power from its really strong pure equips, right? Especially the new one we just got, the Awakened Piccolo one. So that, I guess, kind of hurts Kid Buu. But again, the major reason why I think I have, honestly, I would just say most Regen characters not really that high on the list is because the team really needs a strong blue character, and they do not have one. Blue Zamasu is at least runnable, but we are far, far past the time where Blue Zamasu is a really, really strong option. We are far past that. He just gets incinerated by any strong character, Goku and Frieza, Namek Goku, the Gammas. He just can't hang in there with the strongest characters now. It's power creep. Right? It's how the game works. I think if Regen had access to a really powerful, maybe top 5 level blue character, I could see this Kid Buu jumping up the list a decent amount of spots. But in terms of the meta right now, I think this is a decent spot for Kid Buu in terms of the top 10. He's still in the top 10, at least in my opinion. He's number 10. You could slide him up to number 9 or whatever if you wanted to, but again, I think you could also make the reverse argument in that Kid Buu maybe doesn't make the top 10, and you could have another character on the number 10 spot as well. I know a lot of NA players like Purple UI Goku, the Zenkai one. You could throw him on here maybe if you've experienced him being a pretty valuable character. Potentially one of the Ginyu Force characters as well, but Ultra Kid Buu definitely still a very, very powerful character. His green card is probably still one of the most annoying green cards in the game. I think actually Ultra Vegito Blue's green card probably is technically more annoying than this Kid Buu's, just because you can't even really attack the character. But for Kid Buu, I mean, again, green card, ridiculous, gives him cover null, starts a combo, his blue card locks you in, the card draw speed, the healing, he does a lot, and he's a good unit. So the second this team gets a good blue character, I could see him shooting way up because he is still very good individually. But I feel comfortable with him right now being at number 10, so this is number 10. Let's move on to number 9. Coming in at number 9, we have Zenkai Sword of Hope Trunks. So this guy's definitely fallen a few spots, I think, from my prior list. Main reason why is because this guy was introduced at the same time, basically at the same time. Like, I think he actually came out a week before Vegito Blue did, but this guy was basically introduced as a way to check Vegito Blue, because they probably figured that Vegito was going to be so strong that they should release some kind of character to put him in check, at least, you know, a new character to put him in check. I mean, he does have checks already, but this was probably one of the bigger ones to put into the game with Vegito Blue coming out. At this point, with Namek Goku coming out, you don't really need this character as much anymore. He's still really strong, and he still does his job well in terms of deterring Vegito Blue. Especially when you pair, like, one of the more common teams right now is for sure still the Vegito Blue, Sword of Hope Trunks, and Goku and Frieza setup, because even if Vegito Blue rushes this Trunks, he's not going to die, because Goku and Frieza are nullifying Vegito Blue's endurance nullification from standby. So this character can still perform effectively in that regard, but you really don't need to rely as much on this character now with Namek Goku existing. And I think one thing else to remember as well is one of this character's best assets is his unique gauge filling up. His unique gauge filling up reduces the enemy's ki by 100, which is really strong, but we are at the point now in this game where a lot of characters can overcome that, right? I mean, you just switch into another character who gets ki on entry, maybe they are able to use a green card and increase their ki again. Like one of the things I always like to do when I'm fighting this Trunks is if I'm using Goku and Frieza, I just switch to Goku and Frieza, use a green card, and I have like 60 ki. And I'm going to be comboing forever again. So a lot of times you have these really strong characters, even like Namek Goku, right? You can switch into a different character and then go into Namek Goku. Namek Goku gets like 50 ki on his first card used, or 40 ki, or whatever it is, right? So there's definitely ways to work around this Trunks' unique gauge. And I think, again, if you're able to do that, that is one of the stronger parts of this character that you're able to overcome. This character is very, very defensive. Like, his defenses are very, very high, and that's probably one of the more strong aspects of this character as well. I tend to view this character more of a defensive tool, more so than an offensive tool. But he can still do pretty good damage, right? That first strike card he does upon entry is getting the extra, I think it's, 100% extra damage inflicted, so that's pretty strong. His ultimate hits very hard, so he's still a really good character, but I just feel like, you know, if you're going for a tool to specifically fight against Vegito Blue, at this point we do have better options, mainly Namek Goku with his release. But this is definitely still a strong character. He's number 9 on my list. Not really much else to say. It's just a strong unit. Very, very good LF Zenkai character. Let's move on to number 8. All right, so at number 8, I have Ultra Rose Goku Black. I was definitely a bit conflicted as to whether to put this guy at number 9 or number 8. My gut was telling me to put him at 9. I put Trunks at 8, but my brain was telling me to put this guy at number 8. I honestly think you could switch them if you want. You could have this guy number 9, you get Trunks number 8, whatever. I think it's both are fine. I went with this guy at number 8 because there's just 5 million good blue characters right now. Like, you queue up into PvP, you're basically running into at least one blue character. I usually count Goku and Frieza as half a blue character, because I think most of the time when you're fighting against Goku and Frieza, when they're not comboing you, they are switched in with Goku. At least that's my experience fighting them. Most of the time they are switched in with Goku unless they're comboing you, in which case most of the time they're switched in with Frieza. A lot of times what happens is they switch into Goku and Frieza mid-combo, use a green card, then switch to Frieza to finish the combo out, and then they'll go back into Goku when the combo's done. But you have like 17, you have Sword of Hope Trunks, you have now Namek Goku, you have Revival Frieza still floating around, you have the rare Jisen Birder, so the Birder side of that character. Of course you have Goku and Frieza, the Frieza side of that character. So there's a lot of blue characters now. And that's why I think this Rose has definitely gained a lot of value recently, especially with the release of Namek Goku. In top rank PvP, especially in Japan, you run into Namek Goku basically every single match. So this Rose has definitely gained a lot of value, but I guess it also speaks to how strong power creep has been recently, because you would expect with how many blues are running around right now that this Rose would be a little higher on the list. It's just tough to get this guy going, because a lot of his damage is dependent upon you actually ramping up, and this guy ramps up by attacking the enemy. And it's just a little tougher with this character these days because this guy doesn't get cover null super easily. He gets it on when he fills his gauge up, but his gauge takes a while to fill up. So this character will definitely thrive in the future if we go down a path of getting slower metas. I would say this meta right now is pretty fast, especially with the introduction of Namagoku and how snowbally he is. This is actually a pretty good comparison, I think, to Namagoku, this Rosé. I think they're both snowbally characters. But this Rosé is a lot slower of a snowball character. Like, think about two snowballs building up. Namagoku, you roll the snowball for 3 seconds, it's built up already. This Rosé takes like a good half a minute to a minute of rolling that snowball to build it all the way up. So that's why I don't have him super high on here. He can do really good damage to blue characters, of course, but I've fought like 14-star full Z plus Zenkai buff Rosés with my Namagoku team, and Namagoku, honestly, doesn't really get too phased by him. It's not until really deep into the fight where this Rosé's like used an ultimate, he's ramped up his damage a lot through attacking, that he gets to a pretty scary level. But until you get to that point, I mean, this guy is just like a solid green character. And to be honest, he's probably the best green character that we have right now. So I'm definitely expecting either the next release or the release after that to be a really, really powerful green unit. There's just way too many blue characters running around to not have like a good green character come out now. But this character is, of course, still pretty good. I mean, he has type neutrality against purple units, which is one of the main saving graces, I think, for this character, because there's still a lot of good purples, right? There's Goku and Frieza, there's Ginyu. There's some good purples floating around right now. So we will see what they do with releasing more greens moving down the road here. But right now, I am pretty comfortable with having this Rosé, again, either at 9 or 8 on the list. He's a really, really good character still. I mean, how many months has it been? Like 6 months since he's come out. So he's held up pretty decently well. But I think it's just not a great meta for him, even though there are a lot of blue characters in terms of his performance, because he is a lot... he is very, very based on the meta being slow, so he can actually benefit from building up his offense, right? Which right now it's very tough for him to do because the meta is very fast. So, with Goku and Frieza being in every match, there's a very good chance this guy just gets sniped by Goku and Frieza, like, very easily. If this guy gets caught with the green from Goku and Frieza, all Goku and Frieza need to do is hit him with one strike and one blue, and he's dead. So, we'll see. Anyway, Rosé's number 8 on my list. Let's move on to number 7. Moving on to number 7, we have LF Perfect Form Cell here. So this is definitely an interesting character. The thing about this character is he's on a lot of teams. He's on Powerful Opponent, he's on Future, he's on Androids, and he's on Regen. Right, so every time you get a Cell character, they're on a lot of different teams, which I think is very valuable. I would say this character being a Blast character probably at the moment probably fits the best on Androids, you would think. You would think he fits the best on Androids. And I think the main team people would imagine you running this character on with Androids is this guy next to Blue 17, next to the Gammas. Now, the problem with that is it's definitely not a bad team, right? The Cell is going to do well on that team. But the problem with that team is every time you would want to switch into this Cell to get a combo going and, string together long combos, he's basically eating time away from the Gammas doing that. The Gammas are a character you want to invest as much time with them on the battlefield as possible, either eating hits or doing hits to build up their unique gauge to do the core breaker. This Cell is basically the same style of unit as them. This character is a character that is able to string together very, very long combos with his unique gauge being built up, getting cover null, getting key back, drawing a lot of cards. And then when he dies, he of course has the Death AoE. I think that Death AoE is probably this character's best asset. The fact that he basically is able to take unless you're going up against like a type disadvantage yellow character, he's able to do insanely broken levels of damage with his AoE. I think that's probably going to be the best asset for this character moving forward. And I think that's probably one of the things that's going to allow him to outage many of the characters on this list is that Death AoE. So I think his design kind of clashes a little bit with the Gammas. And I think a lot of people, at least in Japan here, have started to notice that as well. And so I've actually seen more people sort of shy away from the Cell on the Android setup. And I've seen most people who use Androids sort of, commit to the Magenta style of the Android team, which is just the same team, except without the Cell, you run Magenta. And then you run the double Zenkai buff Gamma build with the EX First Form Cell and the Zenkai Yellow Perfect Form Cell on the bench, or the Perfect Cell on the bench. to double Zenkai buff the Gambas, and you just go all in on the Gambit strategy. And honestly, I think that probably will work a little bit better. So I actually think the best setup for this cell is Future next to Vegito Blue. You can create a really dumb you could create a really dumb situation where the cell blows up, and then you enter with Vegito Blue. With his first time entering the battlefield, he removes his enemies vanish. You could either just rush, because the enemy can't do anything, right? Imagine the situation. The cell blows up, and then Vegito Blue enters for the first time. They can't switch, because you inflict no switching. You lock their main ability. Vegito comes in, he locks their Rising Rush, and he removes their Vanish. And the cell destroys all their cards when he dies. So they can't vanish. They have 0 cards in their hand. They can't rush, and they can't main ability. So a lot of times what will happen is that cell will blow up. Vegito comes in. You can either just instantly rush with him, or you can just main and ult right away. And pretty much nothing is surviving that, essentially. So that I think is a really good setup for the cell. He works just fine as like a third option for Future too. Like you could run this cell next to like Sword of Hope Trunks and Vegito Blue in Future. You can run the cell next to Rose and Vegito Blue in Future. I think the cell, even though he technically is more of a blast character, his strike, if you build him strike base, he can actually do pretty well, because the cell actually has, I believe it is a higher strike stat. Yeah, a higher strike stat than blast stat. So you could technically build some strike and he'll be fine, which is again another really good design idea I think that they gave to this character. So I think this character right now is in a little bit of a weird spot, because you don't really want to run him on like what would appear to be his best team, I think, because his design clashes with the other like best character on that team, or second best, whatever you want to think about the Gammas versus Android scenario. But I think this is a very, very good character. Not really too many design flaws in my opinion, just a solid all-around unit. And I think he fits pretty well at number 7 on this list. So let's move on to number 6. At number 6 on the list, we have Revival Captain Ginyu, the captain himself. This is actually the first time this character is going to be on my list, because this is the first list I'm making since his release. Yeah, this is a really good unit. I think most people looked at this character, before his release, and like looked at his initial information and were like, wow, they kind of fumbled with this character. They kind of failed us with Captain Ginyu. But after extensively using this character, I do tend to disagree with that initial mindset that people had when looking at his details, right, when the character was announced. This character is really good. I mean, even though he's not an LF, even though he's not an Ultra, he's not even a Zenkai, he's just a regular 1% character, he's very, very powerful. I think initially what kind of turned people off from this unit is the fact that he has to build up his revival chance, right? He starts out with a base 30% chance to revive, which, as a revival character, you would think, and you would look at that and think like, okay, this kind of sucks, right? Why would I want to invest the extra time to build up my revival character? In reality, I mean, it's really not that hard to do, right? You vanish, you gain a revival chance. You use a green card, you gain a revival chance, which, by the way, this character force draws a green card when you vanish anyway. His main gives him extra revival chance. His main draws a blue, which then also gives you more of a revival chance. So I found that really, if you start and lead the fight with this character, you dodge an attack, you use a green card, and then you use your main, like you're good to go. You pretty much have like a 70 to 80% chance to revive, right? And then moving forward from that, assuming you're able to switch back into this character later on, you vanish another attack, and at that point, it's essentially guaranteed that you revive. So it's really not that tough to be able to revive this character, and especially if you use him on a team with like other Frieza, Frieza Saga characters or Ginyu Force members, this Captain Ginyu will be ridiculous, right? I think this character obviously will perform the best on a Ginyu Force setup, because you get the extra abilities that the other Ginyu Force members are going to have when you have a full Ginyu Force team, which is minus 80% to the enemy's, I think it's ultimate and special move power. And then you also reduce sub count by 10 when the enemy rushes. So you basically guaranteed to have this guy revive. So a really strong character here that's able to really deter their Rising Rush. And even if the enemy rushes, you just revive most of the time anyway, right? So this, I would say, alongside Revival Frieza, which you see not as often anymore, is probably I don't want to say one of the biggest deterrents to Vegito Blue in the game, but he's a nice tool to use against Vegito Blue, because you at least know that you're going to have a second life with this character, like 90% of the time. I have definitely gotten the frog with this Ginyu, but it's only been on, like, I could count on one hand how many times I've gotten frog with this character, and I've definitely played over 100 matches with this unit. So it is pretty rare to fail the revive. And then once you do revive, we're talking about a character that, so there's a lot of situations where like you get this character revived and you're fighting like a last man standing Goku and Frieza. That is a very common thing. If you're fighting I'm going to tell you guys this. If you're fighting a last man standing character, like there's one enemy left, and you have this Ginyu revived, you touch them once and you win. This Ginyu, after revive, has permanent 2x card draw speed, and he can gain level 3 card draw speed with his main ability. Plus, he's getting ki whenever he uses a card. He's drawing many, many green cards. This character, I've actually seen my revived Captain Ginyu combo for over 150 hits in one combo. There's really no unit, even like Raccoon and Goldos, switched in with Raccoon, that are able to sit there and just eat 150 combos from this Captain Ginyu. There's not really a character that can survive that. Now, the one weakness of him post-revive is the fact that he doesn't get cover nullification, but I'm actually kind of glad that he doesn't, because otherwise you would literally be sitting in this character's combos for 30 counts plus every time he touched you one time. So I'm actually kind of glad they didn't give him cover null. I think it's a good way to balance what he's able to do with his ridiculous combo potential. But, you know, a very, very versatile revive character that's pretty strong in base and strong post-revival. I've actually kind of geared towards building him more defensively when using him on like a team that isn't just the pure Ginyu Force team. So for this last God rank grind, I used this Ginyu as leader next to Namek Goku and Goku and Frieza, and I built him completely defensively. And a lot of times people in like even like 2+ combos couldn't kill him, and so a lot of the time what ended up happening is they ended up actually just straight up deciding to rush this guy, and he just revives every time. So it's pretty strong. His blue card is really powerful, giving the opponent the obscuring their hand. It's just really, really strong and annoying. And him force drawing green cards is going to be really good for Namek Goku and Goku and Frieza too. So I think he fits well with the units you want to run him with. And I actually think they did a really good job designing this Captain Ginyu here. So number 6 on the list. Let's move on to the top 5. All right, feel free to head down to the comment section and let me have it. Just completely unload your anger on me for having Ultra Vegito Blue at number 5 on this list. Now, I intentionally, in the beginning of this video, emphasized I think it's point number 2 of the 3 points that I always talk about at the beginning of these videos, which is that this list is mostly based off of how these characters perform in the current meta environment, not solely on their initial kits, right? It's not just looking at each individual character's performances in a vacuum and looking at their abilities in a vacuum. I think you could very easily make the argument this character is still number 1 in the game, or, you know, number 1 or number 2 next to Goku and Frieza. This character's kit in a vacuum is ridiculous. Like, it's still ridiculous. And honestly, the fact that he's even number 5 on this list when we have like 4 to 6 insanely good blue characters, like this is probably the most blue dominant meta we've ever had, maybe barring like when Zenkai Blue Bardock was at his peak. Like this is a crazy, crazy era for blue characters. And this guy is still number 5 as a red. Like that is crazy, 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 crazy. So I'm not going to go into excruciating detail about why I have this character number 5. I think it's fairly obvious if you guys have kept up with the game recently. So the biggest reason is because Namek Goku. I mean, Namek Goku released, and again, in top PvP in Japan, you see Namek Goku essentially every other match, or maybe even like 2/3 of the time you see him. And he is a very obviously targeted counter towards this Vegito Blue. So not only is Namek Goku type advantage, he has a lock-in, and he's able to remove this guy's type neutrality, right? So if you get this guy below half HP, he goes type neutral and he heals up. Namek Goku removes ally buff effects and attribute upgrades with his main ability, so you can actually remove his type neutrality before you lock him in with the ultimate. Like it was very obvious. They felt very comfortable releasing a counter to this character, which is a little interesting because you would assume that they would try and counter other characters first, like Goku and Frieza, who've been in the meta longer than this guy has been. But it's almost as if they repeated last year, because if you guys remember last year, we had Ultra Super Vegeta release for the 4th anniversary at the end. And then, like, 2 months later, we got LF Red Cooler, who was, like, I think still is the biggest counter to any single character we've ever seen in this game's history. I would actually say Red Cooler is a bigger counter to Super Vegito than Namek Goku is to this Vegito Blue. But, I mean, it's pretty, like, it doesn't really get much more of a targeted counter than Namek Goku versus this guy. It's a pretty obvious targeted counter, but Cooler versus, I mean, literally with Cooler, all you had to do was land 1 strike card and Vegito and you won. It was stupid. But it's not only limited to Namek. I mean, okay, so the thing with Namek Goku too is not only is he completely destroying this guy offensively, but even defensively, Vegito Blue's biggest asset are the first 30, like his abilities during the first 30 counts of the fight. The fact that he has the extra level of card draw speed, the fact that he's basically guaranteed to start a combo with the Vanish removal, the fact that he is basically able to farm a rush in one combo with that first combo because of the extra card draw speed and him guaranteed to fill up his gauge at least one time. Like, he is at his peak, this character is, during the first 30 counts. And the fact that Namek Goku reduces enemy ki by 20 per time he's hit for the first 5 times basically means that if you switch into Vegito Blue in the early portions of the fight and you are somebody who's running Namek Goku, all you do is you switch into Namek Goku and he's able to basically deter this Vegito Blue's first combo, which is where he's supposed to get most of his value from. So that, in my opinion, is the more targeted area for Namek Goku to be countering this character. It's actually defensively. It's not even offensively. So this character definitely has a very, very rough time trying to deal with Namek Goku, but it's not just Namek Goku too, right? We have other very powerful blue characters, right? Goku and Frieza are blue half the time. We have 17. We have even just Revival Frieza, who, right, again, is a revival character. So if Vegito farms a rush instantly, you can rush with him, but you can just have Revival Frieza come in and eat it. And then he's, of course, got type advantage over this guy too. But there's like a lot of really strong blue units floating around. There's sort of Trunks who still exists too. So this is a very rough meta for Vegito Blue. Like, this is, I would doubt that at any point in the future we will see a single meta that is more rough for any one character than it is for this Vegito Blue right now, right? There's a reason Hit, spoiler alert, there's a reason Hit is not on this list. I still think Hit is good, but I mean, he's not competing in this meta when we have 5 million blue units running around every single match. So the fact that this guy is still number 5 in the list, I think stands is a testament to how good he is individually, but I could definitely see this guy moving up in the future. I mean, he's got so many ridiculous portions to his mechanics in his kit. Like, this is pretty ridiculous. This character's already 5 on the list, but they felt it was okay to just continually buffet us with multiple ridiculous blue units. So this is going to be Vegito Blue number 5 on the list. I will say, by the way, that I think maybe you could potentially swap this guy with number 4. So we're going to talk about number 4 on the list in a second, but if you're going to say, Vegito Blue, I think is number 4 on the list over the character I have at number 4 and then swap their positions, I'd be okay with that. I would be. So Ultra Vegito Blue, ridiculous that he's number 5, but I think this is the correct spot for him. Let's move on to number 4. Okay, so we're going to move on to number 4 now. We have the Tag Gamma 1 and 2 unit here. So I mentioned in the Vegito Blue section that I think you could swap Vegito Blue in this character. Maybe. I say maybe because I wouldn't do that. I think the Gammas at this point have a bigger impact on the meta and are better fit to win. I guess right now, like, they're just in a better position in the current meta by far than Vegito Blue. I mean, what other red unit are you seeing in the meta right now? Right? I mean, this character, it's not like they're reversing their typing and going reverse yellow. Like, this is a yellow character through and through, no matter who you're swapped into, Gamma 1 and 2. And there's really no, like, major threat to this character besides Vegito Blue. So I think with all the ridiculous blue characters that are floating around right now, and it becoming a little tougher to run Vegito Blue thanks to that, there's been a slight downturn in the amount of Vegito Blues that are floating around, but he's still relatively common, which is why this character is not really that much higher on the list. I think you could potentially swap this character and the character at number 3. I'm pretty comfortable with this character being at number 4, but if you're like somebody who's a Gamma fanatic, I don't know if I would really argue too much if you wanted to move this character up to number 3, but I'm pretty comfortable with them being at number 4 here. So clearly their main team is right now the Android team, unless we start getting like really blast-based movies characters, which probably we won't be. We'll see. But this Gamma character is ridiculous. Again, there's not really any major threatening red units besides Vegito Blue right now. I would say I think the biggest asset of this character is not even just their damage, it's their defense, right? This character is healing when they tag in and out. This character is healing the first time they get hit. 17 is healing them whenever anybody uses an ultimate or a blue card against them. This is a character that I fight with, like my blue Namek Goku and Goku and Frieza setup, where I'm actually really apprehensive to even just lock this character in and ult them with Namek Goku, because a lot of the time they can live thanks to 17 being on the bench. And then this character lives the ultimate, they heal up from it, they switch into the other character, they tag out, they heal up again, and then you hit them again with an attack and they heal again, right? It's very, very tough to kill this character. And then, they eventually built their Core Breaker, and their Core Breaker is essentially a one-shot. I mean, there's instances where you can have characters maybe live it, but it does ridiculous amounts of AoE damage. Remember, they're killing Dragon Balls when they do the preparation mode. They're killing Dragon Balls on their blue card. They're getting Vanish back with their green cards. Like, this character is doing a lot of intangible things that I think are... I think a lot of times overlooked by a lot of players, and I think this character really is what I don't want to slander Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Vegeta from the Buu Saga, but this is really how how they should be designing preparation mode characters. It's kind of sad because Goku and Vegeta came out; they were the first character to introduce that mechanic, and I guess they were sort of just the guinea pig to figure out how the best way to design that mechanic for characters, and they did a really good job, I think, with the Gammas here. I think this character, especially synergizing with 17, is one of the big things as well to discuss, because this character, of course, wants matches to go on for a long period of time, and it's really easy to do that with the androids team, with 17, and 17 allowing your characters to survive these blue cards and ultimates a lot of the time, and of course 17 being the major deterrent to Vegeta Blue on the android setup. But, I mean, even offensively, you guys have heard me talk about this character's offensive capabilities forever, so I'm not really going to go into too much detail, but their ability to go type neutral when they tag out, their blast cards hitting just like a truck. I mentioned this in the Cell portion when I went over Perfect Form Cell in this video, but I think a lot of people started to gravitate more towards the Magenta build for this character on Android. So instead of running Purple Cell, a lot of people have been running this character next to Magenta and 17 as the Android build. So you have two AoEs in that team at that point, Magenta's Death AoE. I guess Cell would have that too, but Magenta's Death AoE and then combined with this character's Core Breaker is just ridiculous. You're able to double Zenkai buff this character with that setup, right? You have the yellow Perfect Cell on the bench next to the yellow First Form Cell. So you're double Zenkai buffing this character. They have tons and tons of HP because a lot of times you're running double HP next to Purple 21 on the bench, so they're even tankier and harder to kill. A lot of times you just struggle to kill this character even with like really powerful 14-star character. Like, again, I mentioned this earlier, but my 14-star LF Super Saiyan Namek Goku hits and kills everything he destroys. He destroys everything he hits, basically. This is one of the only characters where I'm actually pretty nervous because a lot of times he doesn't kill them. So they survive the combo, they heal up all the way, and then they just go into their Core Breaker mode, and it's tough. This character is ridiculously good. So I have it number 4. I think I'm pretty comfortable with them at number 4. I don't think I'd switch them with anyone else in the list. So the Gamma is number 4. Let's move on to number 3. All right, number 3 on the list is going to be LF17. This guy's been on the list since January, so I'm really not going to go into much detail. I mean, what do I even say at this point? I should just have a pre-recorded Android 17 voiceover for when this guy shows up on lists from now on, because it's just going to be the same thing every time. This guy's number 3 on the list. He came out 8 months ago. 8. Remember when I said when this character came out, this guy will potentially age as well as LF Future Gohan? Well, here we are. He's number 3 on this list, 8 months into the future. But again, I think a major part of this is just because we have like 0 green units right now. Like, who's the best green unit? Rose? I think Orange Piccolo is like not Orange Piccolo. I think is definitely better than people think he is. But the thing with Orange Piccolo is he and Rose are completely different types of characters. You're not like soloing teams with Orange Piccolo. I would actually say Orange Piccolo is a lot more similar to the 17 in terms of his design than he is to Rose. 17, Orange Piccolo is more of a supporting character that's able to generate green cards, act as a Rising Rush deterrent with his Revival, reduce card draw speed on cover change. So he's doing a lot of intangible things, but the 17 is just on a completely different level when it comes to being a really good leader slot character and doing intangible things for your team. The biggest thing that has impressed me recently with 17 is exactly what I talked about during the Gamma section with Namek Goku, because Namek Goku is, again, he's very, very common to run into. So with the Android team, it is imperative that you protect the Gammas at all costs. The Gammas are your win condition, right? The 17 is not winning you matches by himself. He is helping to round out the deficiencies of the rest of the team. And the biggest asset this guy has is, of course, his uncancelable cover nullification, his double vanish. And the biggest thing is definitely, at this point still, the heal plus arts power down when the enemy uses a blue card or an ultimate. And that really affects Namek-Goku's probably one of his biggest assets, which is the lock-in ultimate. A lot of times I fought Android teams with Namek-Goku, and I'm just not able to kill the Gammas with the ultimate lock-in because I know I'm going to have my power reduced, and he's going to heal the team fully. That combination is like a two-pronged effect, right? You're healing your whole team, and you're reducing the enemy's power. Like, it's really tough to get a kill with that because of how strong that is. So, I mean, 17, I think, will just continue to age very, very well. He's just almost got essentially no negatives to him. We'll see how things turn once we get a really strong green character, which, again, I think is going to happen pretty soon here. But this is where I feel comfortable with 17 on the list. Number 3. Let's move on to number 2. All right, coming in at number 2, we have LF Super Saiyan Namek-Goku. This is the newest premium summonable character to release in the game. And I think they definitely did a tremendous job with his design and how strong he is compared to the other best units in the game. I mean, I have him at number 2 for a reason here. This Namek-Goku is ridiculous. I made this comment in my God Rank video, which I'm not sure which is going to go up first, this video or the God Rank video, so I'll talk about that in this video too. But it really feels like if you're able to land 2 combos with this character, your win rate is like 90%. Like, you have like a 90% chance to win the fight if you land if you land that second combo with this character. It just, the snowball effect is insane. This character able to get multiple levels of card draw speed, chain cover nulls, increases unique gauge, constantly draw cards. He's doing monumental levels of damage. And then on top of all that, he has a lock-in ultimate that not only is designed to just zero in and kill Ultra Vegito Blue, but the most impressive thing about this character is not only is he geared towards killing Vegito Blue, but he is really, really effective versus Goku and Frieza at the same time. So he's targeting the 2 most individually powerful characters in the game with his entire kit. I mean, his defensive abilities are geared towards taking out Vegito Blue and sort of defending himself against that first combo, which is where Vegito Blue is able to generate most of his value regardless. And against Goku and Frieza, I mean, they, up until this point, haven't really had to deal with traditional no-switching abilities because a lot of characters don't really have access to that right now. But when you're facing this Goku as a Goku and Frieza player, you really have to keep your eye on how much his unique gauge is filled up. If this Goku is able to touch Goku and Frieza one time, and he's able to then main and then ultimate with the lock-in, like, you win. You pretty much win the fight. I can't tell you how many times I fought against Goku and Frieza's with this Namek-Goku and just attacked Goku and Frieza one time, mained, and then killed them, and then the enemy just instantly forfeits. It is really strong because Goku and Frieza have tools against pretty much every other offensive mechanic in the game, right? They reduce sub count and they go type neutral against blues and ultimates. They have like 5 million ways of restoring vanish. They can switch their typing if they need to. They destroy tons and tons of cards. They lock and seal tons and tons of cards. They seal main abilities. So their intangible effects and their utility is just off the charts. But what they can't defend against is a traditional no-switching lock-in, especially when it's paired with an ultimate. And on top of that, the fact that this Goku does extra damage versus LOE, I think it's LOE. It's not Frieza Force, is it? Let me just double check. It might be Frieza Force. Let me see. It's LOE, yeah, okay. So yeah, he does extra damage versus LOE on top of the fact that his ultimate hits like a nuclear missile, right? I mean, this Goku is not only designed to snipe out and kill Vegito Blue, but it's the same thing for Goku and Frieza. He actually is like one of the only characters that can reliably take out Goku and Frieza consistently, on a consistent basis. I found this character actually does have a pretty good set of defensive abilities as well. Even if you're not fighting against Vegito Blue, this Goku with his minus 20 key per hit received for the first 5 hits, it's pretty much able to deter the first combo of any fight, unless you're going up against an enemy that has like just infinite amounts of green cards. Like if you're fighting Goku and Frieza, and this Goku gets touched and comboed, and the enemy Goku and Frieza just has like a bunch of green cards in their hand for some reason, they can sort of get around that. But it's still really annoying to fight against this character and get the first combo started, right? Because he's healing, he's reducing key, it's a lot. Gets his vanish back on main ability. He is able to just draw tons and tons of cards with your unique gauge filling up. The one downside, I guess, technically to this character is that he doesn't really have a great way of dealing with a lot of green units because he doesn't go type neutral at all. But the good thing right now is in this current meta, we don't really have tons of green characters. So the one comment I guess I'll make quickly about this Goku is that right now I really do feel as if he is a top 2 character in the game. I really do think so. There are a lot of times where this character throughout fights, if he gets going and he's snowballing, there's a lot of instances where he really does feel better than Goku and Frieza to me. Like a lot of his highs are higher than Goku and Frieza, but his lows can be pretty low, right? If like the enemy destroys your green card before you can empty your gauge, or if the enemy is like destroying your cards, like Goku and Frieza a lot of time, if you switch in with Goku and Frieza against this character and you have a dead ally, you can pretty much destroy this character's hand, and there's not a lot that you can do to get those cards back and get the combo continuing. And then the final thing I'll say about this character is this is a very selfish character. And what I mean by that is that he doesn't really do much for the rest of the team at all. Like he's not providing any sort of like healing or damage support or key support. He's not really doing anything for any other unit besides himself. And for that reason, I feel like this character will probably see a pretty significant drop off faster than a lot of the other characters on this list will. We'll see. I think he does have a lot of good value still, though, especially defensively for that first combo, which is really, really strong. But obviously, we'll see characters that are able to pace this character early on in terms of offense and ultimately replace this guy on his teams. But as it stands right now, I mean, this is basically as good as it gets. This is the pinnacle of offense in this game. I mean, this character just steamrolling through units, steamrolling through entire teams within the first 20 counts of each match. It is pretty insane how crazy they made this character. So I have him at number 2. I think you guys know he's coming in at number 1. All right, I think at this point it's pretty universally accepted that this character is probably just number 1. Like if every player in the game made a top 10 list, like 99% of the game I think would have this character number 1 on their lists. I think it's pretty universally accepted that Goku and Frieza are just the top unit in the game right now. I'm not going to go into depth about their kit because we pretty much all are able to understand why this character is so good. And the main reason why I have them over Namek Goku, even though I actually do think if you get Namek Goku to snowball early, I think Namek Goku could look quite a bit more impressive than Goku and Frieza can. But Goku and Frieza just have way too much utility. Their utility is just off the charts, right? And that gets me thinking too. It's like, how do you realistically counter this character? Because I think what my philosophy is going to be, and honestly, it has been like this for a while now. I think I mentioned this back when Gogeta Blue released and after he'd been out for a few months. But once a character has been out for like 3 months and they're still like super mega dominant, it's time to create a pretty targeted counter towards that character, right? I think Namek Goku can actually be a pretty good counter towards Goku and Frieza, but we need an even bigger targeted counter to this character. I was thinking about this and I'm thinking to myself, like, how can they make a very targeted counter towards Goku and Frieza? And I think what they would have to do is create like a yellow unit that punishes the opponent for like tag switching. So I was thinking of a very specific way to do it. Instead of, I don't think it would be very healthy for the game to do like a chilled style counter where chilled literally counters Super Saiyan Bardock's ID number. Like chilled does extra damage versus like DBL0704S or whatever the ID number is for that Bardock. I think what they could do is they release like a yellow character that even if that yellow character is on standby, if an enemy universe rep tag unit tags out, they lose like a bunch of key and like they lose a bunch of cards and key or something like that. Like that could be like pretty much the only thing I can think of off the top of my head that would really, really cripple this character a lot. But I mean, we all know how strong this unit is. We all know how dumb this character is. Something else I think they could do as well is make a character, is just not even just make a character like this, but make this a pretty consistent thing moving forward, is giving characters the ability to, situationally obtain uncancelable cover nullification. If a character has uncancelable cover nullification, this Goku and Frieza cannot counter their Rising Rush upon cover change. So it's similar to like if this character, like this, I think this is one of the worst changes they've made in terms of when they buffed this unit. Well, this is already something they already had, but they gave Frieza. So when you tag into Frieza from Goku, he actually gets uncancelable cover nullification. So what that does is it creates an environment where this character is their only counter. right? There's not really another gigantic counter to this character. Again, I think Namek is the closest thing we have right now. But if you tag switch into Frieza, you can freely rush with this character, assuming that the enemy doesn't have their Goku and Frieza on the field at that point. Because then if they switch into their Goku and Frieza, they won't counter the Rising Rush because Frieza has uncancelable cover nullification. So I think moving forward, if they want to put this character in check a little bit, like it's a little bit more than they are right now, is to start giving new releases a way of obtaining uncancelable cover nullification, because that would allow them to actually rush the enemy and play the game. So even without this character's unique gauge, I think they're still crazy. But of course, their main asset and their main claim to fame up until this point has been just their ability to just deter the enemy from rushing. It's not even like a revive character where at least you get the revive out of the way. Like, you rushed against this character and you just wasted your rush. Like, congratulations. So yeah, this character is really dumb. I don't think anybody would really disagree with me having this character at number 1. Are there instances where Namek Goku looks better than this character offensively? Sure, absolutely. I think Namek Goku is probably the second best offensive character in the game next to Vegito Blue. But in terms of just the entirety of what this character is doing and bringing to the table in terms of utility, consistency, defensively, like, there's nothing matching this. So there we go. That is going to be my August 2023 top 10 character list. Just to quickly recap. Number 10, we have Ultra Kid Buu. Number 9, we have Zenkai Sword of Hope Trunks. Number 8, we have Ultra Rose Goku Black. Number 7, we have LF Perfect Form Cell. Number 6 is Rival Ginyu. Number 5, we have Ultra Vegito Blue. Number 4, we have Tag Gammas 1 and 2. Number 3 is LF Android 17. Number 2 is Blue Super Saiyan LF Namek Goku. And then number 1 is Tag Goku and Frieza. Let me know down below if you disagree with any of the placements on this list, as well as what you would change about the list if you do disagree. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in the next one.